Hey, welcome. So glad you're here. Today, we're going to explore something really cool. How the first three books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus, aren't just separate books. Nope. They're actually the first three chapters of one single epic story.
So, let's just dive right in with the big question. How do these books actually fit together? Understanding this connection is, and I mean this, it's the key to unlocking the foundation of the entire Bible. It's that important. You know, a great way to think about the Bible is like it's a giant jigsaw puzzle. And these first three books, they're the first three crucial interlocking pieces. When you put them together, the big picture of God's story really starts to take shape.
Okay, this chart right here is basically our roadmap. Look at the beautiful pattern it lays out. Genesis shows us the problem. God is the creator, but humanity is now fallen and separated from him. Then Exodus provides the rescue. God reveals himself as the Redeemer, delivering his people. And finally, Leviticus shows us the restored purpose. God is the Holy One who teaches his people how to worship him again. It's so clear. Problem, rescue, and purpose.
So, let's start with that first puzzle piece, Genesis. This is the book that shows us how things were supposed to be and what went so horribly wrong. It all starts right here. This is the bedrock. Before anything else, there was God, the powerful, wise creator of, well, everything.
Now, humanity was God's masterpiece, the crown of his creation, and we were given this incredible gift, free will. But tragically, that freedom was used to make a choice, the choice to walk away from our Creator, from the very source of life itself, and that led to a deep spiritual death.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. We often think of sin as just a list of bad things we do. But Genesis shows us the root problem is much deeper. Sin, at its core, is a state of being separated from God. It's a broken relationship. I love this analogy because it makes so much sense. Think about it. An unclogged light bulb is still a light bulb, right? All the parts are there, but it's completely meaningless because it can't do the one thing it was made to do, give light. That's a perfect picture of humanity separated from God. We can't fulfill our true purpose.
But here's the amazing thing. Right in the middle of this disaster, God gives the very first glimmer of hope. He makes a promise of a future child who will one day come and crush the enemy, reconciling us back to God. The rescue plan was announced from the very beginning.
And this promise doesn't just sit there. God immediately begins to build the family line that this rescuer will come from. It starts with just one man, Abraham, then his son Isaac, then a family of 12 sons, and by the end of Genesis, it's a clan of 75 people. You can see it growing.
All right, now we get to grab our second puzzle piece, Exodus. And this is where God's promise starts to, well, explode into reality in a massive way. So remember that tiny clan of 75 people? Well, get this. They end up as slaves in Egypt, but even there, they grow into a nation of nearly 3 million people. It's just undeniable proof that God is keeping his promise, and nothing is going to stop his plan. I mean, look at this showdown. You've got Egypt's plan, crush and destroy the Israelites. And then you have God's promise, a great nation will come from Abraham. And the result? It's almost comical. The more Egypt tried to stop them, the more they grew. It just goes to show you can't fight God's plan.
So it's really important to see that Exodus is way more than just a cool escape story. It's the bridge. It's the journey from the separation we saw in Genesis towards the restored relationship in worship we're about to see in Leviticus.
And that brings us perfectly to our third piece, Leviticus. This is the book that answers the question, okay, we've been rescued, now what? How do we live in a relationship with this holy God?
Leviticus brings us full circle, all the way back to our original purpose lost in Genesis. Why are we even here? We were created to worship God. A life without that is like that unplugged light bulb, empty and meaningless. Worship is what plugs us back in and restores our significance.
And if there's one theme that's hammered home in this book, it's holiness. In fact, the word holy or holiness appears a staggering 152 times in Leviticus. That's more than any other book in the Bible. It's clearly the main point.
And here it is, the central command of the whole book. God says, "Be holy because I am holy." It's an invitation, really. He's calling his people to reflect his character, to be like him.
So the big question is, how can a separated, sinful people ever approach a perfectly holy God? The answer Leviticus gives is this crucial word, atonement. It literally means to cover.
Through this whole system of offerings and feasts, God provided a way to cover their sin, making it possible for that broken relationship to finally begin to heal.
And this is just so beautiful. Watch the progression of God's closeness. In Exodus, he first speaks from a distant burning bush, then from a fearsome mountain they can't even touch. But by Leviticus, he's speaking from the tabernacle, a tent right in the middle of their camp. He's moving from being distant to being present right there with them.
Okay, so we've looked at all three pieces. Now, let's lock them together. What's the bigger picture that starts to form? It's one clear, powerful, seamless story. Genesis shows us our separation and why we desperately need a path back to God. Exodus shows God himself stepping in and making that path of rescue. And Leviticus teaches us how to actually walk on that path through worship and holiness.
And the natural, joyous response to this whole story is summed up perfectly in this psalm. It's worship. The end goal is a creation that sees its creator and just can't help but sing praises to him, fulfilling the very purpose we were made for. So this incredible three-part foundation, separation, deliverance, and worship, sets the stage for everything else that happens in the Bible. But the story's not over, not by a long shot. This foundation just makes you ask, where does this amazing story of redemption go from here?